The bridge of the eternal supremacy was quiet. Fleet Commander Verthax stood near the main viewing screen, his forearms folded behind his back. His compound eyes watched the blue and green planet below. Kepler 442b, the last human colony. The final piece of a war that had lasted 3 long years. Around him, his crew worked in silence. They were Velthari, a proud species that had ruled this section of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had crushed hundreds of rebellions. But this war against humanity had been different. The humans had fought harder than anyone expected. They had refused to surrender even when their fleets were destroyed. They had kept fighting even when their homeworld burned. Verthax remembered the day they glassed Earth. He had watched from orbit as the blue planet turned black and orange. Billions of humans died in hours. He had expected the remaining humans to lose hope after that. He had expected them to beg for mercy. They did not beg. They fought harder, but now it was over. The last human warships floated dead in space around the outer planets. The refugee camps on Kepler 442b held perhaps 3 million humans. That was all that remained of a species that once numbered 12 billion. In a few more days, Verthax would complete the extermination. The Galactic Council had ordered it. Humans were too dangerous to exist. They bred too fast. They learned too quickly. They adapted to everything. "Commander," said his sensor officer, a young Velthari named Crix, "I am picking up something strange." Verthax turned slowly. "Define strange." Crix looked at his screen with confusion. "A ship, Commander. It just appeared on our sensors. It is coming from the outer system, from the dead space beyond the last planet. Identify it." "That is the problem, Commander. I cannot. It is not in our database. It has no transponder signal, but the energy readings suggest it is human in design." Verthax felt something cold move through his body. It was not fear. The Velthari did not feel fear, but it was something close. "That is impossible. We destroyed every human vessel. We counted them. We tracked them. There are none left. I am showing you the readings now, Commander." The main screen changed. It showed a ship moving through the darkness of space. The ship was massive. It was shaped like a blade, long and sharp. Its hull was covered in strange patterns that Verthax did not recognize. Lights glowed along its sides in colors that seemed wrong somehow. "How big is it?" Verthax asked. 3 kilometers long, Commander. Twice the size of our largest battleship." The bridge went silent. Every officer stopped working and stared at the screen. "That cannot be right," Verthax said. "Humans do not have ships that size. Their largest dreadnoughts were less than 1 kilometer. We destroyed all of them at the Battle of Mars. The readings are accurate, Commander. I have checked them 4 times. Verthax watched the ship grow larger on the screen. It was accelerating, moving toward the Velthari fleet at a speed that should have been impossible for a vessel of that size. "Hail them," he ordered. His communications officer sent the standard greeting on all frequencies. Seconds passed. Then minutes. There was no response. "Try again," Verthax said. The officer tried again. More silence. Then the speakers crackled with static. A voice came through. It was human. A female voice. It spoke in Galactic Common, but the words were strange, old. The accent was different from any human Verthax had heard before. "We are the forgotten," the voice said. "We remember everything." The transmission ended. Verthax stood very still. Around him, his officers looked at each other with uncertainty. They did not know what to do. They had never faced anything like this. "Commander," Crix said slowly, "the ship is still accelerating. At its current speed, it will reach our fleet in 6 hours." "One ship," Verthax said quietly. One ship against 400. The humans have lost their minds. But even as he said it, he did not believe it. Humans were many things. They were violent. They were unpredictable. They were savage when cornered. But they were not stupid. They would not send one ship against an entire fleet unless they believed that ship could win. Send 12 cruisers to intercept, Verthax ordered. Standard formation. Disable the ship if possible. Destroy it if necessary. Yes, Commander. Verthax watched the unknown ship on the screen. He thought about the voice. The Forgotten. What did that mean? Where had this ship come from? It had appeared from the empty space beyond the system. There was nothing out there. No stations. No colonies. No bases. Just the endless dark between stars. Unless there was something out there that the Valkyrie did not know about. Verthax had studied humans carefully before this war. He had read their history. He had learned about their wars, their inventions, their strange customs. He knew that humans had a habit of preparing for disasters that had not happened yet. They built shelters for storms that might never come. They stored food for famines that might never arrive. They made plans for futures they might never see. Could they have hidden something in the darkness? A ship? A weapon? A last desperate hope buried in the void and forgotten by everyone? The Forgotten. We remember everything. Verthax felt that cold feeling again. He pushed it away. Increase fleet readiness to level 2, he said. All ships prepare for possible combat. His officers rushed to obey. On the planet below, 3 million humans looked up at the sky and saw the lights of the alien fleet hanging above them like hungry stars. They did not know that something was coming. They did not know that a ship was racing through the darkness toward them. They believed they were alone. They believed they were the last. They believed that humanity would end on this small world far from home. They were wrong. In the cold space beyond the outer planets, the unknown ship continued to accelerate. Its hull was scarred from centuries of travel. Its weapons were charged and ready. Its crew had waited generations for this moment. They were coming home, and they were bringing hell with them. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus and watched the stars shift as her ship accelerated toward the inner system. She was 43 years old. She had dark hair streaked with gray and eyes that had seen too much. She had been born on this ship. She had grown up in its metal corridors. She had trained her entire life for a mission she hoped would never come. That mission had come. 3 months ago, the long-range sensors had detected something terrible. Signals from Earth had stopped. Then signals from Mars stopped. Then Luna. Then every human colony in the home system went silent one by one. The Prometheus had watched from the darkness as humanity died. Elena had cried that night. She had cried for a world she had never seen. For people she had never met. For a home that existed only in old recordings and her grandmother's stories. Then she had dried her tears and given the order to return. The Prometheus was not a normal ship. It was a secret, a legend, a last resort. 230 years ago, Earth's leaders had looked at the galaxy and felt afraid. They had discovered that humanity was not alone. There were other species out there. Powerful species. Ancient species. Species that had conquered and enslaved and destroyed other civilizations without mercy. Earth's leaders knew that someday, humanity might face extinction. So they built the Prometheus. They chose volunteers from every nation. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, doctors, people who were willing to leave Earth forever and never come back. People who were willing to spend their entire lives preparing for a war that might never happen. The ship launched in secret. It carried enough supplies to last centuries. It carried factories that could build anything. It carried libraries that held all of human knowledge. It carried frozen embryos and genetic samples to rebuild the human race if necessary. And it carried weapons. Terrible weapons. Weapons that Earth's governments had banned because they were too dangerous. Weapons that could crack planets and tear holes in space. Weapons that no civilized species would ever use. The Prometheus flew beyond the edge of known space and disappeared into the darkness. It was supposed to wait there, watch, listen, prepare, and if humanity ever faced extinction, it was supposed to come back and fight. Alana's great-great-grandmother had been the first captain. She had led the ship into the void and never looked back. Her daughter became captain after her. Then her granddaughter. Then Elena's mother. Now Elena. 4 generations of Vasquez women had commanded the Prometheus. 4 generations had trained for war. 4 generations had modified the ship, improved its weapons, and prepared for the worst day in human history. That day had arrived. Status report, Elena said. Her first officer. Commander Marcus Chun looked up from his console. He was a tall man with cybernetic implants visible along his temples. Like everyone on the ship, he had been enhanced. Better reflexes, stronger bones, faster thinking. The crew of the Prometheus had changed themselves over the generations. They had become something more than human. All systems are operational, Captain, Marcus said. Weapons are charged. Shields are at full power. The crew was ready. Elena nodded. How many enemy ships? Approximately 400. Mostly cruisers and destroyers. A few battleships. 1 command carrier. And they are sending 12 cruisers to intercept us. Yes, Captain. They will reach us in 2 hours. Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Only 12. They have no idea what they are dealing with. She looked around the bridge at her crew. These were her people. Her family. They had grown up together. Trained together. They knew each other better than any military unit in history. They had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment. Listen to me, she said. I know you have all seen the recordings. You know what happened to Earth. You know what these aliens did to our people. You know that 3 million humans are trapped on that planet below, waiting to die. The bridge was silent. Every eye was on her. We are the last hope of humanity. We are the weapon that Earth built and then forgot. We are the nightmare that the galaxy does not know is coming. And today, we are going to remind the universe why they should have been afraid of humans all along. She paused and let her words sink in. We are going to win this battle. We are going to save those people. We are going to make the Valkyrie regret the day they ever heard the name humanity. And when we are done, every species in this galaxy is going to know one simple truth. Her voice hardened. You cannot kill all of us. You can burn our worlds. You can destroy our fleets. You can murder our children. But somewhere, in the darkness between stars, there will always be another ship. There will always be another crew. There will always be someone who remembers. And they will come for you. The bridge erupted in cheers. Elena turned back to the screen. The 12 enemy cruisers were visible now, tiny points of light racing toward her ship. All hands to battle stations, she said calmly. Let us show them what the Forgotten can do. The Prometheus surged forward. Its engines burned bright in the darkness. Its weapon systems hummed with deadly energy. Its crew moved to their positions with perfect efficiency. They had waited 200 years for this fight. They were ready. The 12 Valkyrie cruisers moved in standard attack formation. They were confident. They were experienced. They had destroyed human ships many times before. This would be no different. Squadron leader Threx commanded the lead cruiser, the Swift Victory. He had fought in 23 battles during the war. He had personally destroyed 6 human vessels. He knew how humans fought. They were brave, but predictable. They used the same tactics again and again. "Target the enemy ship," Threx ordered. "Fire on my command." His weapons officer prepared the main cannons. The targeting systems locked onto the strange human dreadnought. It was big, yes, but size meant nothing. The Valkyrie had defeated larger ships before. In range in 30 seconds, his tactical officer reported. Threx watched the human ship on his screen. It was not slowing down. It was not changing course. It was flying straight at them like it did not care that 12 warships were about to open fire. "They are either very brave or very stupid," Threx said. 20 seconds. The human ship suddenly changed direction. It moved sideways so fast that Threx's sensors lost track of it for a moment. Then it appeared again, below the Valkyrie formation. How did it do that? His pilot asked. Threx did not have time to answer. The human ship fired. Something hit the swift Victory with impossible force. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed. Threx was thrown from his command chair and hit the wall hard. "What was that?" he shouted. "Kinetic Lance, Squadron Leader. They punched straight through our shields." "Impossible. Our shields can stop any kinetic weapon." This was different. The projectile was moving at 15% of light speed. Threx pulled himself up and looked at the damage reports. The kinetic lance had gone through his ship from front to back. It had destroyed 3 decks. 40 crew members were dead. His main reactor was damaged. Around him, the other cruisers were firing at the human ship. But it was moving too fast. It twisted and turned in ways that should have torn any vessel apart. It seemed to know where their shots were going before they fired. "Squadron Leader," his communications officer said with fear in her voice. "The Burning Star is gone. The Iron Fist is gone. The Righteous Fury is not responding." Threx looked at the tactical display. 3 of his cruisers had been destroyed in less than 2 minutes. The human ship was now above the formation, firing some kind of energy weapon that his sensors could not identify. The beams were cutting through Valkyrie armor like it was paper. "All ships retreat," Threx ordered. "Fall back to the main fleet." He turned his damaged ship around and pushed the engines to maximum. Behind him, the human dreadnought continued its attack. It was not chasing the retreating ships. It was finishing off the ones that could not run. Threx watched on his rear sensors as another cruiser exploded. Then another. The human ship moved through the Valkyrie squadron like a predator through a herd of prey. It was methodical, efficient. Merciless. His communications officer was crying. They destroyed the Eternal Blade Squadron Leader. Commander Vrix is dead. They are all dead. "Keep going," Threx said. "We have to warn the fleet." The swift Victory limped through space, trailing smoke and debris. Behind them, the battle was ending. Of the 12 cruisers sent to intercept the human ship, only 2 survived. The other 10 were burning wreckage floating in the void. The entire engagement had lasted less than 10 minutes. On the bridge of the Eternal Supremacy, Verthax watched the recordings in stunned silence. His officers stood around him, their faces showing emotions that Valkyrie were not supposed to feel. Fear, confusion, disbelief. "Play it again," Verthax said. They played it again. He watched the human ship tear through his cruisers with contemptuous ease. He watched weapons he had never seen before slice through shields and armor. He watched his ships die one after another while barely scratching the enemy. "What are those weapons?" he asked. His science officer shook her head. "We do not know, Commander. The kinetic lances use some kind of acceleration technology we have never encountered. The energy beams do not match any known weapon type. And the ship itself moves in ways that should kill any crew. The G-forces alone would turn Valkyrie bodies into paste." Then how are the humans surviving? They must have modified themselves somehow, enhanced their bodies to withstand the stress. Verthax thought about this. Humans had been considered a young species, a primitive species. They had only been in space for 300 years. The Velthari had been in space for 10,000. How could humans have developed weapons and technology that the Velthari had never seen? Unless they had been preparing, unless they had been hiding, unless they had spent centuries in the darkness, building and improving and waiting for exactly this moment, the Forgotten. Verthax finally understood what that name meant. This ship had been forgotten by humanity, hidden away so long ago that no records existed, buried in the darkness between stars where no one would ever find it. A weapon of last resort, waiting for the day when humanity needed it most. And now it was here. Commander, his tactical officer said quietly, the enemy ship has resumed course toward the fleet. It will arrive in 4 hours. Verthax straightened his back. He was Velthari. He did not run from battle. All ships to battle formation, he said. We will meet them with everything we have. But as he gave the order, he felt something he had never felt before in his long military career. Doubt. On the surface of Kepler 442b, 3 million humans waited to die. They lived in camps built from salvaged ship parts and alien supplies. They slept in crowded shelters. They ate rations that barely kept them alive. They looked up at the sky every night and saw the lights of the Velthari fleet hanging above them like a promise of death. Maria Santos was 12 years old. She sat outside her family shelter and watched the stars. Her mother was inside, trying to make their small food supply last another week. Her father had died in the war, killed when the Velthari destroyed the refugee ship he was protecting. Maria remembered Earth. She remembered grass and trees and blue skies. She remembered her school and her friends and her dog named Max. All of that was gone now, burned away by alien weapons. Sometimes she dreamed about Earth, and when she woke up, she cried because the dream was better than reality. Maria, her mother called. Come inside. It is getting cold. Maria did not move. She was tired of the shelter, tired of the fear. Tired of waiting for the aliens to finish what they started. Then something changed. Every screen in the camp flickered. Every radio crackled with static. Every communication device activated at once. A voice came through. A human voice. A woman speaking with calm authority. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Prometheus. Maria stood up. Around her, people were coming out of their shelters. They were looking at their devices with confusion and hope. I am speaking to every human in this system. I know you believe you are alone. I know you believe humanity is finished. I know you have lost everything. Your homes. Your families. Your hope. Maria's mother came outside. She held her communication tablet with shaking hands. Tears were running down her face. You are not alone. We have been watching from the darkness. We have been waiting for 200 years. We are the children of Earth, sent into the void to prepare for this day. We are the weapon that humanity built and then forgot. People were gathering in the center of the camp now. Thousands of refugees standing together, listening to the voice from space. The Velthari believe they have won. They believe humanity will end on this planet. They are wrong. Maria felt something strange in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was hope. She had not felt hope in a very long time. In 4 hours, we will engage the enemy fleet. We will fight them with weapons they have never seen. We will show them that humans do not surrender. Humans do not give up. Humans do not die quietly. The crowd was cheering now. People were hugging each other, crying, laughing, praying. Watch the sky tonight. Watch the lights of the enemy fleet, and know that somewhere up there, your brothers and sisters are fighting for you. We are coming to save you. We are coming to set you free. We are coming to remind the galaxy why they should never have made enemies of humanity." Maria looked up at the sky. The alien fleet was visible as tiny points of light near the moon. Soon, those lights would face something they had never expected. To the Velthari and every other species listening to this transmission, I have one message. You wanted to exterminate us. You burned our homeworld. You murdered our children. You thought you could erase us from the universe. The voice grew harder, colder. You were wrong. You will always be wrong. Because no matter how many of us you kill, there will always be more. In the darkness between stars, in the depths of space you have never explored, there will always be humans, watching, waiting, remembering, and we will never, ever forgive. The transmission ended. Maria's mother knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. "Did you hear that, Maria? Someone is coming. Someone is going to fight for us." Maria nodded. She was crying too, but for the first time in months, they were not tears of despair. 4 hours later, the battle began. The Prometheus emerged from the darkness like a ghost. Its hull was lit with strange energies. Its weapons were charging with power that made sensors across the system go blind. It flew straight at the Velthari fleet without slowing down, without hesitating, without fear. Rithax had prepared everything. 400 ships in perfect formation. Every weapon ready. Every shield at maximum. He had studied the recordings of the earlier battle. He knew this enemy was dangerous, but he had numbers on his side. 400 against 1. The mathematics were simple. All ships, open fire. He commanded. The Velthari fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of missiles. Hundreds of energy beams. A storm of destruction that could have cracked the moon. The Prometheus flew through it. The ship twisted and turned with impossible grace. Its shields flared as they deflected shots that would have destroyed lesser vessels. Its point defense system shot down missiles by the dozen. And it kept coming, never slowing, never stopping. Then it fired back. Rithax watched 3 battleships die in the first volley. The human weapons cut through Velthari armor like it did not exist. Ships that had survived dozens of battles were torn apart in seconds. How was this possible? He whispered. His tactical officer had no answer. None of them did. The Prometheus reached the center of the Velthari formation and began to spin. It fired in all directions at once, creating a sphere of destruction that consumed everything near it. Cruisers exploded. Destroyers were cut in half. Battleships burned. On the planet below, 3 million humans watched the lights in the sky change. They watched the steady glow of the alien fleet turn into flashes of fire. They watched their enemy die, and they began to believe that they might survive after all. The battle lasted 11 hours. Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and watched the destruction unfold. Her ship was hurt. Fires burned on 3 decks. The hull had been breached in a dozen places. 37 of her crew were dead, but they were still fighting. They would always keep fighting. Around her, the Velthari fleet was falling apart. More than 200 ships had been destroyed. Another 100 were damaged and trying to flee. The rest had pulled back, forming a desperate defensive line around the command carrier. "Status report," Elena said. Marcus Chen looked at his console. His face was bloody from a wound on his forehead, but his voice was steady. Weapons at 60%. Shields at 40%. Engine power holding. "We can keep fighting, Captain." Elena nodded. "Target the command carrier. Time to end this." The Prometheus turned toward the Eternal Supremacy. The giant Velthari ship was the last major threat. Its shields were still strong. Its weapons were still firing. But it was alone now. Its escorts were gone. Its fleet was broken. Verthax watched the human dreadnought approach on his screen. His bridge was filled with smoke. Half his crew was dead or injured. His ship had taken dozens of hits from weapons he still did not understand. "Commander," his communications officer said weakly, "the human ship is hailing us." Verthax closed his eyes for a moment. He had lost. He knew it. His entire fleet had been destroyed by a single ship. Everything the Velthari believed about warfare, about technology, about humans, was wrong. "Put them through," he said. Elena Vasquez appeared on his screen. She looked tired. There was blood on her uniform, but her eyes were sharp and cold. "Fleet Commander Verthax," she said, "your fleet is destroyed. Your ships are burning. You have two choices. Surrender now and live, or keep fighting and die. Choose quickly." Verthax felt anger rise in his chest. He was Velthari. His people had conquered 100 worlds. They did not surrender. But then he thought about the 3 million humans on the planet below. He thought about what his species had done to Earth. He thought about the millions of humans they had killed, the cities they had burned, the families they had torn apart. Maybe this was justice. Maybe this was what the Velthari deserved. "If I surrender," he said slowly, "what happens to my crew? They will live. You will all live. But you will answer for what your people have done." Verthax looked around his ruined bridge. His officers were watching him. They were scared. They were beaten. They wanted this to end. "Very well," Verthax said. "I surrender." Elena nodded once. "A wise choice. Power down your weapons and lower your shields. My Marines will board your ship within the hour." The transmission ended. Verthax sat down heavily in his command chair. The war was over. The Velthari had lost. And humanity, the species they had tried to exterminate, was still alive. 3 days later, Elena Vasquez stood on the surface of Kepler 442b. She was surrounded by refugees. Thousands of humans had come to see the woman who saved them. They reached out to touch her uniform. They cried and thanked her. Children held signs with her name. Maria Santos was in the crowd. She pushed forward until she was standing in front of the captain. Elena looked down at the small girl with the serious eyes. "Are you really from Earth?" Maria asked. Elena smiled sadly. "My ancestors were. I was born on the Prometheus. But Earth is in my heart. It always will be. Can you bring it back? Can you bring Earth back?" Elena knelt down so she was at Maria's level. "No, child. Earth is gone. We cannot bring it back. But we can build something new. We can find new worlds. We can make new homes. And we can make sure that no one ever does this to us again." Maria nodded slowly. "I want to help. When I grow up, I want to be like you." Elena put her hand on Maria's shoulder. "Then study hard. Train hard. And never forget what happened here. Never forget what our people suffered. Because as long as we remember, we will never let it happen again." The negotiations with the Velthari took months. Elena did not ask for revenge. She did not demand the destruction of Velthari worlds. She asked for something more valuable. The Velthari would withdraw from all human space. They would return every human slave they had taken. They would provide resources to rebuild human civilization. And they would carry a message back to the Galactic Council. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity would never be extinct. 20 years later, Maria Santos stood on the bridge of a brand new ship. She was 32 now. She wore the uniform of a captain in the Human Defense Fleet. Her ship was called the New Dawn, and it was the first of a new class of dreadnoughts built using technology from the Prometheus. Behind her, 100 other ships waited. The rebuilt human fleet was small compared to what it once was, but it was strong. It was ready, and it would never again be caught by surprise. Maria looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Prometheus was still patrolling. Elena Vasquez had refused to retire. She said her mission was not finished. There were still threats in the darkness. There were still enemies who might try to finish what the Valkyrie had started. Maria understood. The universe was dangerous. Other species might decide that humans were too dangerous to exist. They might try again to exterminate humanity, but now they knew the truth. Now they knew what humans were capable of. Now they knew that somewhere in the void, there would always be a ship watching, waiting, ready to strike. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. You could burn human worlds. You could destroy human fleets. You could kill billions of humans, but you could never kill all of them. And the ones who survived would remember. They would rebuild. They would come back stronger. And they would make you pay. That was the legacy of the Prometheus. That was the gift Elena Vasquez had given to her people. Hope, strength, and the promise that humanity would endure. No matter what the universe threw at them. Maria smiled and gave the order to launch. The new dawn flew into the stars, carrying the future of humanity with it. And somewhere in the darkness, the Prometheus watched over them all.